welcome everyone to the Taylor Blueprint. My name is Keegan Hessig, and I am here with
Jim Gilbride, Chief of Police, University of Akron.
And Lasan Aklog.
Our topic today is about improving UAPD's website through marketing research. We're going to go over a few questions, talk to both the student and the officer, Officer Jim Gilbride, and discuss how the project went and what it helped with. So our first question is some background. So why was you updating the UAPD website so important?
UAPD's website is really a reflection of our entire police department, both as an agency, but it's also a reflection of every individual officer at our police department. And for some website users, that is their first impression of UAPD. So we really wanted a website that reflects our dedication to professionalism, our core values, and what our mission is here.
Okay, yeah. Was there anything about the old website or what it is now that stood out about issues and how it wasn't delivering to the audience right?
The former website has an awful lot of information, but it's not very well organized. So it's all good information, but it's really cluttered. Mm-hmm. It's disjointed, and it's hard to follow. And even myself have gotten lost on our own website before.
Was there one specific part you wanted to stand out from the rest that wasn't kind of delivered the correct way?
There's one thing that I really wanted to stand out. Doing the research, I learned that students wanted different things to stand out.
Yeah.
But what I really want to stand out is our mission statement and our core values.
Okay, so really just wanting to help the students understand who you guys are and perceive you a little bit differently.
Mm-hmm.
So how did this collaboration between the students and police begin?
So UAPD has been collaborating with criminal justice students for a couple of years now. This collaboration with College of Business started actually just last semester with retired Professor Deb Owens. For a long time now, UAPD has wanted to gauge community perceptions of the police department and also community perceptions of safety, both on and around campus. And those perceptions are really important to us to guide us and help us form our strategies.
That's really cool. And I think it's definitely been an awesome experience for students as well to kind of have some real world opportunities to see how it's really affecting the UAPD, because we'll be here for the next couple of years and get to see that all play out.
Absolutely. And Professor Owens helped us establish this relationship and did our first project, but we maintain the relationship with the College of Business and look forward to it continuing in the future.
That's awesome. All right, so we are going to move on to some questions for the students, and I will be answering along with Lasan. The first one is, what was the major method for this research project?
The major method that we focused on was eye tracking, for sure. We kind of mixed in surveying as well, just so we can get, firsthand opinions of what they would change. Yeah, what would you feel like?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was definitely the eye tracking. For people that don't know, we have an eye tracking lab in the Suarez lab. Basically, what you do is you have a student sit on the opposite side of it. There's a camera watching them, following their eyes wherever they go for however long they go there. It watches them, and you can play content. You can show your website, whatever the students slides they make. They can present it to the students to see where they're following the most. How was learning about the eye tracking experiment?
It was definitely an eye opener for how many different ways you can collect data from your audience, especially how they display basically the data with the heat mapping. They have multiple different ways they want to emphasize the data, especially with the heat map. They show you specific points where it was viewed the most by red, green, yellow, how they normally do on heat maps. Even participating in an eye tracking experiment, I would say, you wouldn't think that you could get that much out of just looking at something. So
And it was such a simple process, but there's so much you can take away from it. And it's really a technology that many students don't have the opportunity to use, let alone most universities don't have this technology. So the fact that us at Akron get to use it and have it have it play into our projects is really, really impactful for us.
sure.
It was very interesting seeing the heat maps. There's the shadow maps and dynamic maps, kind of learning how that differentiates from each other and what you can take away from it. There's so many different aspects and angles to look at these kind of things, and it's really, really interesting.
It was really fascinating to me to see the current website and where the eyes focus, or more importantly, where they don't focus
Yeah.
sometimes.
Was there any like shocking thing that stood out to you when looking at that? We'll get into that a little bit more later as well, just based on your first look.
Based on the eye tracking only?
Based on the eye tracking, like where you particularly looked,
Yeah.
but students just weren't. I know you mentioned the mission
Well,
statement.
the mission statement and core values is down towards the bottom of our website. You really have to scroll down quite a bit to see it. And what the eye tracking showed is our website is basically a 3-column format, and users would start at the left, lose a little bit of interest while moving to the right, and by the time they got to the 3rd column, they lost most interest. And then as you scroll down, there was hardly any eye tracking at all.
Yeah, and that's interesting because along with the heat maps, the color changes depending on how much the student looked at it. And that's what's really important about the fact that the color changes, because you can kind of see where it dwindles out when people start to kind of slow down and really where they put most of their attention and their focus to. I have one more question, or a couple more questions for the students. Did you guys have a chance to practice before the client project?
Yeah, we got to run it through I got to run through the presentation with 3 other students, make sure it flows right, who got what slides, and that it was worth listening to.
Yeah, and I think definitely we had a project earlier in the semester about the research club that really opened our eyes into what we're going to be getting into when doing the project with you guys.
I agree.
A lot of us hadn't had any experience with that before, so really getting to have that first look, learn what it's about, and learn what it's going to show us so that we know how to take it and improve the website was a very big help for us. And then the one last question is, how was the overall research experience for this client project, and what was so cool about it?
I'm sorry, can you say that one more time?
How was the overall research experience for this client project, and what was so cool about it?
The coolest thing to me was getting that real world kind of touch, getting to do something for a client that would actually, impact everyday life or people in case emergencies. The coolest thing was the eye track and get to learn about it more, get into more depth about the meanings behind it. And what about you?
I agree. I think a big takeaway for me was Akron always talks about experience business. That is one of the biggest things we talk about. And this client project really shows how much you're going to get to experience what you are learning. You don't want to go through school for 4 years and not really get to go into the field outside of your internship. And then by the time you get there, you realize you don't like it or it's not your skill. So I think it was really cool getting to have that experience, knowing what I'm kind of getting myself into. And then also, like I said earlier, seeing how you guys are going to play out with this over the next couple of years. UAPD is really important here. It's very important for prospective students and especially parents that they are going to feel safe on campus. And I think this was a big thing that we could have an impact on rather than just do a client project for someone that is going to take it and then we'll never see again.
Yeah, I'd really like to highlight that because all of the projects we've done with College of Business, all of the research is put to real world use and actually has an impact on the community.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to go into some questions for you, Jim. First, how were students' presentations? Were there any surprising insights or things that stood out?
Well, first of all, there were 8 presentations, and every single one was absolutely fantastic and very insightful. A couple of surprises for me. When I looked at our current website that we need to redesign, I thought there's just way too much information. I thought we needed to, my plan for a redesign was to eliminate a whole bunch of information. But what I learned through these projects is that the website users, they want to see all that information. But what we need to do is better organize it.
Yeah.
So that was one. Another surprising insight, some students identified a problem at UAPD that UAPD didn't know we had that problem. And that issue was just this academic year, we introduced our newsletter, UAPD's newsletter called Zips Watch. And what we learned through this is that very few students are reading our newsletter. So the students identified that problem and also proposed viable solutions to that.
Okay, going back to what you said about how you felt there was too much information before you started and that, that might not be the case in better organization. How do you better organize that, or how do you plan on better organizing that? Is it shortening the paragraphs or kind of moving it around to where the eyes were looking mostly?
I think it's all about design. and using buttons and drop-down menus and things like that. You can still have all the same information on your website, but it's a cleaner look when you have the drop-downs or you have buttons.
Much easier to kind of navigate.
Yes.
Everything like that. All right. So what can you guys do with these findings? What is the next steps?
So next steps will be to work with communications and marketing department here at the university, as well as IT professionals, to update and redesign our website. And we will rely heavily on these projects.
Was there a lot more that went into it or into websites in general that you kind of didn't even, think were a thing, and that it was just a simple website? But
I don't think I ever really gave much thought to websites before. I just knew ours was too cluttered. And like I said, even I got lost on it. But hearing the projects and hearing these ideas, using banners, and some of the projects had proposed website designs, and you would see through the eye tracking movement on some of these proposed designs that the eyes consistently went to the exact information I would want our users to look at.
that makes sense. I think that's most of the questions we have for you, Lasan. Is there any that you have?
I wanted to highlight the fact that Keegan kind of said it earlier, that the experience we're getting is like the quality of the education that we've learned here, and how we get to get that hands-on stuff. That was my hands down the best thing that I think I've gained from this university, getting to get that impact on real world for sure.
Did you get to actually, were you at any point a participant for an eye tracking study?
Yeah, in the initial RU research logo eye tracking, I believe it was. I did that. It was like a 15-second process. We weren't even, or maybe a minute to 3 minutes, process, and it was like nothing, but we gained a lot from just looking at things.
And then Jim, one more question for you. Going back on all you've taken away from these projects, is there any in the future that you have in mind, or what are your future plans with your involvement with UAPD marketing?
Oh, absolutely. First and foremost, the experience we've had these last 2 semesters. I think we've done 3 or 4 projects over 2 semesters, and all have been fantastic. And this one in particular, and it's happened in others with other research projects as well, is I see the presentations, I review them, and I have more questions now, like follow-up questions that need to be researched as well.
Yeah, it's definitely clear that sometimes when you're reviewing one specific problem, it kind of brings out 3 or 4 more that you kind of really never saw as a problem, and you thought you were fine on that, but you get to move forward with it, and you learn more than just what you need to do about that current problem that you're having. Have you done any other projects with the University of Akron involving the UAPD?
Yes, last semester we did a really important one. A class put together focus groups to gauge student perceptions of safety both on and around campus. And it actually took it a step further. It wasn't just about what their perceptions were, but why they had those perceptions. Right. And the why is really important to UAPD, because if we don't know why students feel a certain way, then we really don't know how to solve that problem or to change their perception.
Yeah, that makes sense. Did you notice any intermixing of things that you were finding out about the website along with the project from the first semester? Did you notice anything that kind of collided, or how you could kind of use the information you found from first semester and input it into the website?
I think we found that there were things that did not collide but should have. For example, our safety tips on how to prevent thefts. That didn't get a whole lot of looks on our current website, but obviously perceptions of safety, thefts on campus, we want our students to see those safety tips.
That's awesome. All right, and then Lasan, we're going to go into some reflection. What was it like working on a real world project like this and implementing your marketing skills?
It felt like I was actually utilizing the material I learned in school, that I get to actually see results, once you put that, you work on those skills that they're taught, that they teach you in class,
I think for me, a big thing was going into it, I was like, okay, I've never really done this before, and I feel I don't have too much knowledge on marketing, in terms of research, but after the project, and especially implementing it into an important problem, it really made me feel a lot more confident in my marketing skills. Like I feel like I've taken a big step in terms of my knowledge, and I'm sure you do as well, and a lot of other students really working on these real world problems. I struggle on that. It just makes a big difference for the students because you're doing something important, and it makes you kind of feel good about what you're doing. When you can see those results, it really shows like how you're going to impact something, especially through market research.
Yeah, and I want to just input something. It kind of like shows you what it's like out of college, like what you're gonna, a feel of what you're gonna expect when you get out of school, when you're working for a client, like setting up those meetings, talking about what improvements you feel like, what improvements research has proven, and stuff like that. So that's also a process that we learn too.
A lot of students should also take away from this. You can put this on your resume when when you're going into interviews, when you're looking for internships. You highlight these things because they make you stand out so much farther than other students, especially students that don't have the same access to technology and don't have that same access to being involved in important activities. When you can show your impact and you can show how you did it, what the process was like, and how you can implement your skills that you took away from that into their company, it's going to take you a whole step further. All right, and then for you, Jim, how does this project affect UAPD's view of student involvement?
So students, faculty, and staff are UAPD's consumers. And our number one job at UAPD is to keep our consumers safe. That always comes first. That's always number one. But that's not enough. We need our consumers to actually feel safe as well. And research projects like this help us match up perceptions with reality, because there's many times perceptions of safety on and around campus don't always match reality. But through this research, we learn how we can make reality and perceptions match up so students feel safe.
Is there any like big goals that you guys are trying to accomplish with this in terms of, and I know we talked about prospective students and prospective parents, is there any other goals or touch up on that you guys are trying to hope to achieve?
So we celebrate our history and we embrace all the opportunities and advantages that come with being in an urban environment. There's just so many benefits to it. But being in an urban environment means that we all, as a police department, as a university, and as individuals, we need to be a little bit more sophisticated in terms of safety. And getting our message out there that, yes, we're in an urban environment. Yes, you need to be safe. But here's the actual facts. Here are the actual numbers when it comes to safety at the University of Akron compared to pretty much any other urban university in the state of Ohio. We're at least comparable, if not doing better in some crime categories. And this helps guide us where perceptions come from and how we can get our message out there.
I'm sure that's been a goal of you guys for quite a while, even before you started doing these projects. How much has this sped up or, improved the potential you guys can reach with what you're trying to accomplish?
Yeah, a great deal. And referencing back to those focus groups, the follow-up questions of, okay, if you feel unsafe, what is it that makes you feel unsafe? That why. That's what we need to know.
And just digging deeper into really what your consumers that you said specifically are really feeling. So
yeah, I was talking to a couple groups of students just a couple hours ago down at Coleman Commons, and I asked them, what their perceptions of safety were, whether they felt safe, unsafe, and they said when they're on campus they feel safe. But then my follow-up question was, you feel safe, what do you think the university's reputation is among non-UA community members about safety? And many of them said, oh, well, my friends who go to other universities think it's really unsafe here, and it doesn't match up with the reality of things.
Yeah, a lot of students can agree with the fact that, you feel safer as a student, but when you're talking to other people, they always kind of they raise an eyebrow or like, oh, I know it's pretty dangerous out there, but it really does feel different being here than, the outside perspective, and that's why the perception is so important.
Yeah, and I definitely don't want to downplay the importance of safety is everyone's responsibility in making good decisions and such.
Lassan, do you have anything to add to that?
It's kind of unrelated but related in a way. I think first year we take a course on safety and how to handle things and other things like that. I don't really think they highlighted that much how UAPD is contacted, because it's not just like 911. It's like they'll transfer you somewhere else and somewhere else. I was thinking maybe if you guys, when this website is revamped, is there ways to implement these resources in classrooms and stuff like that, just to know like everybody has these resources and these kind of accessibilities?
Yeah, so you're going to start seeing posters going up in buildings that are most populated buildings on campus. That's going to be all residence halls.
Yeah.
Bierce Library, Student Union, the Polsky Building as well, that has that type of information on it.
Okay.
It's part of a broader communications, safety communications campaign that we're
Yeah.
working on with the Department of Communications and Marketing.
Mm-hmm. And Lasan, you mentioned that when you first arrive here, don't students, they take a course with UAPD or they have a meeting with them. Am I correct on that?
So at new student orientation,
Okay, yeah.
UAPD speaks with parents, and then there's also Know the Code,
Mm-hmm. That's
which
what I remember.
was part of the Akron experience.
Okay.
And Know the Code was with UAPD.
Yeah, that's what I'm remembering too.
Yeah.
Do you think there will be end up being some takeaways from what you guys have found out within these projects that you'll implement into those new student orientation?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Particularly in our messaging and knowing the why. Now we know what to talk about better now.
Exactly. All right, and then we'll end with this. What is one thing each of you guys want the listeners to take away from this conversation?
What I want listeners to know or take away is that, yes, these are classroom projects. Yes, you're receiving an academic grade for them, and that's really important. But as you guys touched on it's real world experience. This research you guys do is put to use and has an impact on the community. And sometimes, I don't think the students always realize this, but sometimes the results of this research is shared with and utilized by other departments on campus, not just the police department.
Mm-hmm.
And other people on campus, including sometimes President Niemer and the Board of Trustees, are made aware of the research results.
Yeah, really.
Me personally, being a student and a citizen in Akron, knowing that our police department is making these efforts to make them easier, accessible, understandable, and change that perspective that certain people might have, I feel comfortable, I feel safe knowing that those are what you guys are doing to try to make a safer environment.
That's pretty much what I was going to say. I was going to say that, it's good for students and parents to know, and we get a firsthand view of it, how much you guys actually care on improving this campus, and not only just improving the campus based on what you guys think is better for the students. You are actually finding the perspective first, getting the input, and applying that so that the students know, like, you guys are first priority, like, your safety is what matters the most. And then a takeaway I'd have for just the marketing and business students a part of this campus, you really are going to experience business here. And these experiences that you're having, go full in on them, because you can implement them, like I said, to resumes. You can use that to stand out from other students, and that's what's most important, especially as you go on in life trying to find that job senior year. These can really make a difference in how you're going to be viewed by potential employers.
And I got to add to that, I didn't realize that I would feel maybe a sense of pride and so much satisfaction in being part of the students' academic growth and career by doing these.
Yeah,
Awesome.
it definitely is a big step for us. All right, so we've talked a lot about, how it impacted us as students and how it impacted the UAPD. Is there anything you want to promote for, the next steps and what you guys are doing? Anything you want to make note to for the audience?
Well, as it relates to this particular project, like I said, we'll start working with communications and marketing and IT professionals to see how we can revamp our website, continue doing these follow-up research questions that come to mind, just to continue to guide our strategies at UAPD.
Awesome.
All right, well, I want to thank you guys both for being here, Officer Jim and Lasan, and thank you guys for listening. This is the Taylor Blueprint.